What's up, everybody, and welcome back to our channel. I am Wynn.
No, I'm Armani.
And today we're going to be giving you the story about how we met, how we first met each other, and all of that good stuff. But I guess before we talk about that, I do have to give you guys a little bit of background before we got there. So before we actually met, one of the things that kind of transpired for me at the time, I was in this relationship. It was an abusive relationship, and it was something that I was kind of getting pretty tired and weary of. And it took me a while to leave. Personally, from my perspective at the time, you know, I felt that we had so many things in common that I could kind of help with. But I realized that, you know, it wasn't going to take me to help this person. They, you know, essentially needed to help themselves. But I got to a point where I really, really wanted to leave the relationship. There was like this last thing that just kind of like blew up into something that it never should have got into. And so that night, after we kind of ended that relationship and ended it for good, and I actually have to tell you guys, it was nothing but the strength of God, because I was very scared. I was still very nervous to leave that relationship, but that night it was just like something came over me, and it was like, no, now is the time, and there is no looking back, and I shouldn't fear it and things like that. So I ended up ending that relationship, and that night I remember crying out to God about me not wanting to start over, about me actually looking for my husband, or, you know, trying to figure out if that was something that I was called to. And so that night, God actually gave me a dream. And in that dream, I saw this tall guy. Mind you, I'm boo-hoo crying, okay? I am boo-hoo crying, cried myself to sleep that night. But God gave me this dream, and I saw this guy, and he was super tall, he was light-skinned, and he had this big beard. Now, you guys don't see it right now because he cut it, but he had a really big beard, and it was a beard that was like very distinct. Like, he kept it clean, he kept it groomed, all of that stuff. And so when I had saw the dream, and I did not see his face, so I didn't know who this guy was, but I remember waking up so quickly out of my dream, like, God, who is that? Who is that man? Like, is this my husband? Like, what you trying to show me, right? I was a little scared because I'm like, who is this guy? But some time had went by, and I started seeing somebody who looked like the guy in my dream. I didn't really correlate the two, but all I noticed was this big beard. This big clean beard, but we had a mutual friend named AJ, and I remember when I first saw him, we were in a student center, I think, and I had just like walked past him, or I just noticed him or something like that, and I started to tell my friend about him, like, girl, there's this guy I keep seeing. I do not know who he is, but he is so fine. And just all of this stuff I was talking to her about, right? And so when she finally was able to lay eyes on him, because I'm like, there he is, like that's who I've been telling you about. She said, oh yeah, that's Armani. So come to find out, she was in the same organization that he was in too. You want to chime in?
Yeah. So when we first met, I mean, I pretty much knew who she was. I didn't really know her name, but I knew who she was. People was talking about her and stuff, and then even before that, like I had kind of saw her my freshman year, and I just remember like she was working in the eateries. That's where a lot of freshmen and sophomores, a lot of the students ate at school. So
I was a year ahead of him too.
Yeah.
So it was his sophomore year that we met, but
no, it was my junior year.
Oh wow!
It was
Yeah.
my junior
See,
year.
so he already had eyes on me when he was a freshman.
Yeah.
Okay, but I did not know.
Yeah, because I remember being at the eateries, and I saw you in the back, and time was just moving really, really slow, and I was just looking at you like, and it was to the point where Jahar had to give my attention to order food because I didn't order food. Yeah, my best friend. And he was getting my attention like, Armani, you gonna get something? I'm like, oh, I forgot we was in line. And then like a few years later was when she really got my attention because she was actually the assistant to one of my professors, and I was like, oh, and I remember like hitting one of my friends like, hey, who is that? Who is that? It's like, oh, that's Gwen. She the president of Poetry Society. I stopped him right there. I was like, president? No, no. But at the time, we both were already in relationships, so it was kind of like it was a no-go thing, anyways. And I remember interaction we had. I think it was a final. I think it was her final, and I turned in my test, and she collected it, and I was just looking at her, and you know, I think you said you was like, thank you, and I was like, you're welcome, and I just took off. 'Cause I'm like, I'm about to start sweating, you know, just getting nervous being around her, but
and this is around December,
yeah,
right?
No,
or was it November? Did we have finals November?
Because I remember it was it was spring semester. It was spring semester when I had that class. So yeah, shout out to Heather Neff, one of the best professors ever to do.
Oh, don't play with her. She gonna tell you
Dr.
Heather
Neff.
I'm
okay,
sorry. You can't disrespect her like that.
No, not at all. She really is like one of the GOAT professors. Period. Like anybody that goes to Eastern now, is she still at Eastern?
But was it African American Lit?
Yes, African American literature. Please take her class. Mm-hmm. It's really, really good. And she give you the nitty gritty too. Yeah, that's what I love about her. She give you the nitty gritty.
Mm-hmm. Like some black people that we know to be, you know, these big head honchos, and you know they did so much for, or at least we think they have. Right. She be like, this person actually was not the person you thought they were. So no, it was a really good class, good class.
Yeah, and then after that, I think the next year was when we actually like finally got to know each other. When you know we were when we talked to AJ and stuff. And AJ was really like our glue for a little minute. Like she was the only way we was getting together.
So before we get into that, so how we actually met, right? Because this was about, I'll say about 2 to 3 months after I had ended my relationship at the time. And I think he ended his relationship with his girlfriend then around the same time. So God's timing was like really aligning for us, but we just didn't see it because we never like really, you know, intertwined with each other until we actually like talked about where we were at those seasons, and we came to find out like no, God was like really ordaining us to be together. But how we actually met is because, like I said, you know, when I had saw him that first time, I kept talking about him to our friend AJ, and so I told her, you know, she finally saw him. I was like, yeah, you know, that's Armani, you know, go ahead and talk to him. So I've been telling her, like, no, don't do that. Like, don't go up to him. Don't tell him nothing. Like, I want him to come to me and all this other stuff, right? So some time had went on, and I just kept seeing him. But when I say, y'all, when I saw him, it was like, when he says time slowed down, like, that's legit how I felt. Like, whenever I saw him, no one else mattered, regardless of how busy it was, no matter how many people were around. My eyes were literally just like on him the whole time. And I'm like, it's weird that I'm feeling this way about somebody. Like, I haven't even talked to you. I don't know much about you, right? I don't know you at all. But I just feel like my spirit is just like
I have to get connected.
Literally, like I have to get connected with him. I don't understand how we could do that. But me and AJ, we were actually in the student center, and we were talking, we were sitting at the table, and I remember the way that I was sitting, I saw Armani up at the top on the second floor, and he was just walking, and I told AJ, I said, AJ, there he go, AJ. She turned around, y'all, in her seat. She looked up, and she said, "Hey, yo, Armani, come here." And I don't know what it was, y'all, but I started getting real cleansed. I'm like, girl, no, don't do that. Don't call him over here. Like, what are you doing? She's like, girl, be quiet, right? Next thing you know, I look up. Armani's nowhere to be found. He coming up from behind me, y'all. I'm like, oh my God.
What y'all didn't know was I was Batman though.
No, seriously, stealth mode and everything. 'Cause I'm like, where did he go? And I kid you not, it was that fast. Like, he moved that fast. I don't know if it was because you saw me and you was just like, I
It
feel,
was that.
yeah,
It was
you know,
that.
he saw your girl and he said, let
It
me
was
get down
that.
there.
I gotta get near her somehow. I just got to, and it's the perfect opportunity. So when I came down, you know, I was talking to AJ and everything, and I was kind of nervous to talk to her because I'm like, I don't know what she gonna say. So, but then I just came out of nowhere, and I was just like, I just want to let you know, you are the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. But here's the kicker, though. Her response was very disappointing.
I tried,
It
y'all.
was
I
very
was so
disappointing.
nervous.
That's how I knew she wasn't a
nervous.
player for real because she didn't have no
I ain't had no
comeback.
game.
She none. And I ain't gonna lie, I don't either. I don't
Yeah.
either. And that's
Yeah.
why I just said what I said. I'm like, you beautiful. That's all I got.
And I didn't know what to say. I mean, I said thank you, y'all. But when I say I have never gotten like nervous in front of a guy before, like that's never my thing. Like I be smooth, I be chill, you know. Like I know how to talk. You're not about to make me stumble on my words, okay? But no, like legit, he made me that nervous, and I said to him, I said.
She said,
I'll tell it.
Go do
I
your thing,
said-
okay.
I
Yup.
said, I had my thoughts about you too.
now y'all, how do you respond to that?
What?
Tell y'all put in the comments, how do y'all respond to that? Because I want to know. I want to know. She really said, I had my comments about you too. I was distraught. What?
I had no comments.
What kind of
I had
comments?
no comments. That's the
Because
thing.
that
Like,
could
I-
go either way. Were
I
there
was
good
so
comments? Were they
speechless.
bad comments? Have you been
Man.
talking shit about me?
No, I have not. No, I have not. In all the good ways, though. In all
But
the
it was,
good ways.
but like my best friend Jahar, he had to clarify it for me. He was like, "Oh no, she like you." I'm like, "No, she don't." She was like, "Yes, she do." I'm like, what kind of response is, "Oh, I have my comments about you too"? That was a little mean. I'm not gonna lie, cause what kind of comments? I had to question myself. Am I ugly?
I don't know. I mean, I know what came over me. You know, it's just like I couldn't get enough.
But it was like I get it. Like when you nervous around people, sometimes you don't, especially
especially
people you got a crush on. You just say anything.
And it was real, y'all. Like when I tell you, I have never crushed so hard on somebody like I crushed on him. Like it literally made me feel like schoolgirl.
Yeah.
Like I felt real giddy whenever he would come around, whenever I saw him. And I mean that. Like I legit was just like a giddy little schoolgirl who had this crush. And I just felt already like so connected to him. And from there, him and his friend Derek, they ended up coming. Literally, y'all, like this is all in the first moment that we met. So after he said what he said, I said what I said. AJ and him and Derek, because mind you, they're all in the same organization, and me and AJ was in the same organization. So they standing there, they talking, and me, my organization, and his organization, we were like brother sister organizations. So we were all cool, but it's still funny because like that was the first time we ever met, because he was more so like in the background of that organization. But nonetheless, him and Derek just started busting out in a freestyle because that's what their organization did. They specialize in artistry and music and photography and entertainment and things like that.
We was trying to be the next Death Row.
Nah, for real. They was trying to do something, and I'm not gonna lie.
We had campus popping.
Yeah,
okay? When it came
both of our organizations.
When it came to like music and poetry and stuff like that, no, it was Tribe and Poetry Society all day. Like, period.
So just real quick shout out to PS and Tribe, because especially if y'all are watching this, like, cause y'all know the beginning of us, and just thank y'all for supporting, thank y'all for tuning in, and no, those organizations really did change. For me, it really did change my life, and it really did boost my college experience. Like, y'all lit, for real.
Me too. Tribe wasn't really a official like EMU organization, but EMU knew who Tribe was, and we made
some bangers.
We put our mark on EMU. So shout out to Tribe, shout out to PS for sure, because y'all for sure helped a lot when it came to like our pen game and our writing. Yeah, y'all was in that thing. So yeah, shout out to y'all.
Okay. But after that, so they started doing they rap and everything, and after that, I think we separated. We went separate ways.
We did. It was like, cause I remember the next time we crossed paths, or like when we actually came together. I think it was like a week after that, cause I remember. No, even before that.
I can get into it.
Even before that, I was back in the city. I was back in Detroit for my aunt had passed and I had to go to the funeral. And I remember being at home and AJ had texted me. It was like, Gwen said you not fucking with her like that. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, and this whole thing was a setup from the get-go. I later found out.
And it was because I was trying to figure out, if we just met up and, I was feeling the way that I was feeling about you, and he comes up to me, oh, you're just the most beautiful girl in the world. Like, why you asking my number? Why we didn't exchange that?
We didn't, and I was thinking about that too when I was back in the city. I'm like, dang, I should have got a number. Man. But I wouldn't, again, when you nervous around somebody you really, really like, you not thinking straight for real.
Yeah. So from my perspective, I was talking to AJ and I was telling her, like, girl, he ain't asking for my number. I don't think he really messed with me for real. And she started telling me, like, I think she's the one. Because did you tell her that your aunt had passed at the time?
I think so, yeah.
Because she is the one that told me that his aunt had passed. And I was like, oh, dang, okay. And she was already telling me, like, she was going to text him and do all this other stuff. And I'm like, no, like, you ain't even got to do that. Like, it's okay. Come to find out, she did it anyway. She did it anyway.
Shout out to AJ.
No, for real, because we were playing games.
AJ,
we were playing games. But no, shout out to her because she really did, like, see us.
Yeah.
She saw more for us. And so she really made sure that it happened. And I mess with her for that.
But I was in the city for a funeral and I was at home and she texted me. And I was like, nah, that's not true. Like, why is you lying on my name like that? Don't do that. So I was like, there has to be a way. I gotta clear this up. Like, can I get her number or something? Like, let me know something. So she sent me her number, and then I text her immediately. I said, look, I didn't say hi, bye, kiss my ass, nothing. I just went straight to the point. Look, whatever AJ is talking about, she is lying. Me and you, we cool, whatever. And she texts me back. So this is how I was supposed to get your number, and I was like, oh shit.
Because why you ain't asked for it?
And after that I immediately text my best friend Jahar. You was right. Immediately, she do like me, like and I'm giddy. I'm sitting on the toilet. I'm good. I'm like going crazy. So my day was made. I was good. So and then we got back. I got back to campus. The next week, I was coming out of the student center, and I'm texting her like, "Hey, what you doing? How you doing?" And she was like, "Nothing. I'm chilling in the student center." I turned my ass right back around. I said, "Are you okay? Cool." So I went back into the student center. She was chopping it up with PS, and I was too. But then out of nowhere, everybody kind of just scattered. And just left, and it was just me and her. And then I was kind of like, "You hungry? You want something to eat?" And she was like, "Sure." And we got Subway, and we literally spent 2 hours just talking everything, like just letting it all come out. We don't know.
Getting empty.
Yeah, like it was a good. I feel like it was a good conversation, and it was like. It was something that I feel like we both needed. Yeah. Like, because we haven't had, like, conversations, like, where we kind of, like, unveiled our true selves in a long time. Not even to our significant others in the past. Like, it was definitely different.
And starting over really was not that bad. Like, we needed that one conversation.
Yeah.
And I felt like I had known him forever. After that conversation, y'all. No, for real. That's legit how it was. And let me tell y'all how real it was. It was so real that after we had that conversation, I remember going back to my best friend and I told her about it. And I remember telling her in that conversation, mind you, that was the first conversation we actually had for real.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember telling her that early, I think I found the one. I think he's the one. I really do. And I remember she like, really that fast? No, that is the one. That's my husband. That's him. That is the one I've been waiting for. Okay. And it literally turned out to be true. It literally turned out to be true.
Yeah.
It was a great conversation. And another reason too, where I like really felt like he was the one. And like he said, AJ was like the catalyst to a lot of our, especially in the beginning.
Yeah.
She was the catalyst to kind of like encourage us to start dating and things like that. So she actually played third wheel a few times, on some dates that we had went on. And I remember we were going to the movies and out to eat that day. He came to pick me up. AJ was sitting in the front. Now look, at the time we were not together, so I'm not pressed to be in the front seat or nothing like that. I'm just here along for the ride, right? But he gets out of the car. He walks around and he opens up the back door, the back seat door for me to get in. Now, I mean, I know for him, that was like some regular stuff. And for ladies out there who have that done to them often, it's also like, there's some regular stuff. Why you tripping? Because people didn't do that for me, for real.
And that broke my heart.
If somebody was holding a door open for me, or a car door, I don't think, and let me be honest, before you, probably on one hand, I can count how many times I've had a car door open for me. And I mean like intentionally, let me open up your car door and let me let you get in.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have that. I wasn't spoiled with that. I wasn't treated with that, and it wasn't something that I automatically assumed was like something that needed to happen. I mean, some people just lack that in their lives.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't necessarily have my dad around that much to teach me certain things about what a man should do, what they shouldn't do, so it's a lot of reasons why I ended up getting into the situation like I am, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, like that was another thing that really made me believe that he was the one, because he was doing stuff that nobody has ever done for me. And I don't know, I just want to talk to the ladies right here, because I know we probably do have a lot of women that watch us. That's when you got the one. When this person is completely different than anything you are used to. Because one thing that we do as women, especially starting off the dating, the courting, whatever you want to call it, right? Whenever you're dealing with somebody, one thing we tend to do is stick to a pattern of men that we like. And we stick to that pattern, not really thinking about all of the details in the relationship. And I think that's what kind of makes us sometimes too think like, okay, this is too good to be true, because he doing this. There's no such thing as too good to be true, because I thought that about him as well.
I was just about to say, like, me and her had that conversation, like, I don't think you even real. Like,
no, for real.
This not, because I feel like you got something behind, and I had to tell her like, no. That's not it.
That's really where I was positioned, for real. I'm like, it's too good to be true.
And it was a point where I had to constantly remind her, like,
he did.
I'm not one of them niggas you used to date.
And partially too because of the age difference. Now, it's not a huge age difference. It's not.
It's just a year and a half.
Yeah, and when we first met each other, he wasn't even 21. He was turning 21, I think, because we met March.
Mm-hmm.
So he was turning 21 that June, and I would be 22 that December.
Mm-hmm.
So I had already knew that I had went through some deep stuff in my relationship, and I already knew I was not in this for the long haul as far as continuously dating somebody.
Yeah.
That's not where I was. I
Same.
knew at that moment I wanted somebody. I wanted my husband. That is what I wanted. And I told him, and this is before I had like a deeper relationship with God. So, I wasn't really privy to, okay, well, did God say this is your husband? Da, 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 da. I already knew I had the dream. He looked like the guy that was in the dream. And I had to keep asking him, like, I'm not gonna lie, I bugged him with it. Ladies, I would not tell you to bug your man with those questions, but it was something that I really needed to get out because I wanted to make sure that because he wasn't yet 21, because he's a man, because, you know, he still has his whole 20s ahead of him, I wanted to be sure that we were on the same page, that I'm dating for marriage. I'm trying to make this my last relationship. And if that's not where you at, to the left, that's legit like how I felt, and that's legit things that I've said as well. Like, if we're not on the same page, let's not do this. Let's not waste each other's time. We don't do, and I said this from the very beginning, we didn't do the whole breaks and stuff, taking breaks and stuff. That was something that I already knew. Like, we are not doing this. That is childish, taking breaks and having to keep, taking your moment and then coming back. Like, we were already building the foundation for marriage from the jump. Yeah. Like, we were trying to make sure we were working through issues and things like that. And I think a lot of that had to do, for me, with what I saw growing up in marriages. So we were very serious from the very beginning about what we wanted. And I think that is definitely something that helped kind of set us up for success in the long run.
Yeah, because you get kind of, once you get older and you start, once you're like out of certain relationships, you kind of just get over all of that old stuff, all of the childish stuff. You don't want to repeat the same things. In my old relationship, I dealt with infidelity issues, not on my end, but I definitely wanted to lay that foundation. Like, no, we're not doing no breaks. We're not doing all that stupid stuff, because it just leaves room for destruction in the relationship, and we for sure didn't want that. So, and I think laying that foundation early is what set us up for success in marriage right now, and we, and I'm not saying our marriage is peachy keen and, it's all good. Sometimes we have our moments, you know what I'm saying? But all in all, like, we have a good foundation in our relationship, and we set it up early. So I think that's pivotal. I think so in a relationship, because you got to set that boundary. You gotta lay the land out for your relationship. So
and I think both of our seriousness in that is what's got us so far. Like, we work well together. We work very, very well together. That's not to say that we can't improve on communication, or we can't improve on other aspects of marriage, but we work well together. And I think just being able to have that alone, because we say like communication is the biggest thing and all this other stuff, but I honestly think it's about being able to work together, because if you don't know how to work together, you don't want to communicate with your partner. You don't want to do those things. So I think the fact that we both just mesh well with each other, and again, it's God ordained. Like, that part is so important, because somebody who is God ordained and somebody that's, to have a God ordained spouse, that's going to come with a little more ease than someone that's not necessarily God ordained, which is why so many people have so many issues in their relationships. And I'm not even just going to say marriage, but just in their relationships, because they're dealing with somebody that God never called them to be with. And so I think we just had that foundation from the beginning. We set it out there on the table. Like, let's make sure going forward we were on the same page about what we want. We were not playing around and sleeping around with other people. Like, no, it was like, once me and you locked in, we locked in. And you want to talk about like how we actually got together, made it official?
Oh yeah, so it was my birthday. I was turning 21. And even
3 months later, after we met, 3 months later.
But like, before my birthday, I was talking about a cookie cake, because I've been wanting a cookie cake, and like, I was talking about it for like 3 years, and nobody could give me a cookie cake. I was so upset. I'm like, why can't nobody give me a cookie cake? Like, that's all I want. Like, like a cookie, but it's big enough as a cake, like you get from Mrs. Fields. That's what I really wanted. So the day of my birthday came, went to her apartment, and she went outside to her car, and she came back in with the cookie cake, and I was like, you got it. And I was just like, I was amazed. I was like, but the thing that really got me was you listened. Like, and I'm like, because I've been begging for something so simple, something simple as this for years, and nobody could simply get it for me. When all you had to do was go to the mall, go to Mrs. Fields, and order a cookie cake. But nobody seemed to get that concept except for my wife. So I was really like, oh no, she the one. Cause it was a simple, it was so simple. Give me a cookie cake for my birthday. That's it. That's all I want. And she got it for me. And she also got me a t-shirt. So I was like, oh no, this is really the one. Like, and I had to make her mind after that. I was like, oh no, and so but I was already planning to, ask the question anyways. So I had went back to my car and I brought back flowers. And then I asked her a question. I was like, will you be my girlfriend? And she said, yeah. So we made it official then. And we've been together 8 years since.
Yes.
8 years. Almost a decade. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Almost a decade. So, but we've been locked in ever since, honestly. We just keep being locked in, and even with certain things that go on in our relationship, we still come back and we still remember why, and we get better too within we talk, we try to come up with solutions to make the situation better, because at the end of the day, it's not me versus you, it's us versus the problem. So we always go back to that, and we always just try to come up with a solution. So I think that's really good.
Very solution based in the problems that we have. And don't get me wrong, I've done some things, he's done some things, that we both kind of had to kind of understand each other's perspective and why these things even happened. But again, just taking that and trying to figure out, okay, well, what's the solution? Because we can't stay here. We can't stay pissed at each other. We can't stay mad at each other. We can't stay in this space. So how do we move forward? How do we get out of this? And so, once you're together and you're locked in here mentally, you're on the same page, there is nothing that can stop you. Truly, nothing that can stop you, nothing that can break you. One thing that sits with me a lot just talking about this is there's a scripture. It's in Ecclesiastes, and once I remember exactly what the scripture is, I will post it. But it's a scripture that we actually had as well on our wedding day. And it symbolizes, we had these 3 ropes, and it says on there, a cord of 3 strings aren't easily broken. And when I think of that, when we have God in the center and we keep bringing God in it, God, what's going on? Help us right now, or help me understand my husband, help me understand my wife, or whatever the case is. That's true. Nothing can break that if you stay solid in your foundations, if you remember your foundation, if it's been set, right? Because some people wait until marriage to set that foundation, which is a very dangerous thing, because some people believe that once you're married, you've been together for a very long time, and now we get married, it's gonna feel like, we've been together all these years, and all that. Marriage isn't gonna change anything. Marriage changes things, and I do.
If you have not talked about it throughout.
Yes.
You may talk about marriage an idea. Okay, yeah, I want to get married, but you're not thinking about marriage what it'll look like for the both of you during that time. And I think that's very important to think about, because like you said, things can change, and people's ideas of marriage is very different. It's different. You'll be surprised what people think about marriage.
That's not married.
That
never been married.
Man, and
I'm sorry, I got a little loud there. My bad. Don't feel triggered.
Nah, but
or did I get triggered? No.
Why somebody watching this? Are you talking?
Right. like, no.
We are
but it's
warning
a real
you.
Thing.
We are
Yes.
warning you.
Yes,
Like, make
absolutely.
sure you lay that foundation. Make sure
Yeah.
you're talking about what you think marriage should look like, and if your significant other is on that same page, because you're gonna get into it and you're gonna be sitting there like, okay, this is heavier than I thought.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people, when they get into marriage, I feel like that's what a lot of people be thinking, like, oh, this is just our relationship. At the end of the day, this is just our relationship. It is, but also God is in the center, and He controls a lot of that.
Yeah.
So
He gonna make you heal.
He gonna
Okay, He gonna bring some stuff up.
It
You
may
know,
be
that maybe you
uncomfortable.
learn from your parents or
Yep.
whatever the case may be, that never really showed itself until marriage came, because the enemy hates marriage.
Yeah.
So it's gonna wait for as long as it can to come up at a time where it knows it can truly defeat you. And so
Definitely.
that's why it really is important to understand and set that foundation before you get married, because your future is riding on it. Legit.
Definitely.
How you get through your situations is riding on it. So be happy, be merry, stay focused on what it is that you want, be intentional from the beginning.
That part.
If you're looking for your husband, ladies, stop. Don't look for him. Let your husband find you, and when you get in his presence, I guarantee you, you're going to know. It's going to sit in your heart. Scripture says, he who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor. And one thing that my husband had brought up to me too, which I think is also important to talk about here, is that yes, Scripture does say he who finds a wife, and granted, we did find each other. He found me 2 years prior to us actually meeting. It wasn't until 2 years later, in God's timing, that he had me go after what my husband was. Like, because if it wasn't for God giving me that dream, if it wasn't for me having the feelings, the strong feelings that I had, I never would have been like so kind of crazy for him. Like, I legit, and it's not that I was idolizing him, because I wasn't, but it was just like my spirit was so connected to him. I needed him closer, because like something is there. Like, you're my person. I didn't understand that feeling then, but I know what it is now. Like, my spirit needed him, and I had to go looking for him. I had to kind of like coach my way into the situation, right? So that's not to say, ladies, not to put the work in. That's not to say, let your man chase you. If he's chasing you, it's probably not the best thing for you, because don't no man want a woman that he got to chase. I mean, some men do like to chase, but that's because of their own problems. That's because of their own traumas, right? But if you know God has called you to somebody, make it known. And it's not to say, hey, I'm your wife. No, but be known to them. Be known to them. You can also take a leap of faith.
Because eventually he'll come through.
He will.
Eventually.
He will. And it'll align the way that it's supposed to. So I wanted to share that with you guys. I think that's about it.
Yeah.
Of how we met. If you guys do want a part 2 about how he proposed and our 30-day wedding, because it happened so quick. If you want a part 2 to this and you want our wedding video about how that all transpired, how he proposed, how we knew, because honestly, if it wasn't for us worrying so much about the time and all that stuff, we probably would have been married much sooner than what we were. But if you want that, go ahead and make sure that you drop those comments below. Again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We're going to come up with the intro and outro for you guys to kind of make this a little bit more interesting.
Yeah.
But right now in this season, I just appreciate you guys for watching and tuning in. And I hope our story kind of inspires you in some type of way, whether you're waiting on your spouse or you're looking for your spouse, men. Be intentional. Be intentional from the beginning. Again, guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to our video. Subscribe to our channel. Turn on those post notification bells so that way you'll always be reminded of when we post a video. And we will catch you guys in the next one.
See ya. Bye-bye.